One of the franchises that I've had on my list since the beginning that I just haven't gotten to yet is the Poltergeist series, but I figured it was about time to change all of that. I really wanted to shoot some footage in front of the actual house, but I just haven't found the time to like get up there. So it's missing that, but let's take a look to see if this series has any continuity or just bad luck. This kicks off back in 1982 with Poltergeist from Tobe Hooper and begins with a TV sign-off, which used to be commonplace, and that practice ended in mid to late 90s. So this is clearly before that. We see little Carol Ann, and she talks to the TV while Coach looks on. Her mom is Jo Beth Williams, and she also has an older brother and sister, and they live in suburban Simi Valley. Little Robbie is clearly a big Star Wars fan, and
won't you be? Who the hell is this guy?
I mean, you have to ask. That's only the greatest human that ever lived. There's an issue of Captain America here, and it's the one where he fought Doc Ock, and it's from 1981, so we're at least past that. And he also has this creepy-ass clown doll and a spooky tree out of the window. That night, the TV static enters the house.
They're here.
And then weird things start to happen, including stacked chairs and fairly harmless things, but then turn up the juice with a tree attack and little CA getting ghost napped. They discover that she's somehow trapped in the TV now, so they go to a group of paranormal investigators who witness some major phenomena in the house, so they determine it to be a poltergeist, and that it's likely the work of multiple spirits. They reach her and tell her to stay away from the light, and things materialize from the ceiling. And that night, one of the guys peels his entire face off, in an effect that, didn't really age all that well. They also see this ghost on the staircase, and don't quote me on this, but I'm saying that this is the same spirit that gave Ray a blowjob in Ghostbusters. They send Robbie away in a cab that has a license plate with stickers that expire in 1981, so that's looking to be our year here for this one. And Frank appears before he took that medical supply job. He reveals that back in '76, they removed a graveyard to build the housing plan, and they bring in Tangina. And yeah, I can't refer to Zelda Rubinstein as anyone other than Tangina. And she tells them that they have to help the spirits cross over. But there's another evil presence in there with her. They start to try to get her through using the portal in the closet, and they encounter what I'm assuming is the thing in the woods from Evil Dead 2. And man, this is one hell of a crossover film, but they rescue Carol Ann.
This house is clean.
Oh, well, she said it. Movie must be over now. They decide to move, but that night the thing happens that ruined everyone's childhood. The thing that I actually believe is responsible for the majority of people's fears of clowns. The doll attacks, and then the whole house goes ballistic with closet tentacles, whatever this thing is, pool skeletons, and the revelation that when they built the house, they only moved the headstones and left the bodies. The Freelings manage to escape, and the house folds in on itself, disappearing. So that was a massive hit. So of course a sequel was due, and that happened 4 years later with 1986's Poltergeist II: The Other Side. After being introduced to the guy that killed McMurphy, we see Cuesta Verde, which is now essentially a ghost town. Tangina is back, and the house is now a dig, and the Freelings are now living with Diane's mom. Carol Ann is showing psychic abilities. Steve says that it's been a full year since their house disappeared, so this is 1 year later, so I guess it's 82 now, the year that the original film was released, even though both of the kids are clearly more than 1 year older, and the character of Dana is simply missing. According to the script, she's off to college, but in reality, the actress, Dominique Dunn, was murdered by her boyfriend, and they chose not to recast the role out of respect. Carol Ann notices a mysterious man following her, and soon, Grandma passes away, and it appears as if evil forces are once again at work. Taylor shows up to help out, and Ghost Granny helps too. But then creepy ass Kane finds them at the house and attacks with a braces monster. And it's made clear that he's directly after Carol Ann. They find out that directly under their old house was a tomb that contained members of a religious sect from the early 1800s that disappeared, thought slaughtered by natives, and she showed a photo of them. And damn, considering the photography was invented in the early 1800s, with the earliest surviving picture to be from around 1826 or 27, this has to be one of the first known pictures. They're holding a literal treasure in their hands. There's then the most known scene from this one where Steve drinks the tequila worm, which possesses him, and then he vomits it back up, becoming a series of cool effect monsters. And then they flee the house. In order to face off against Kane, they go back to Cuesta Verde, but Diane and Carol Ann get taken away. Steve and Robbie cross over to find them, so we get to see the other side. It's in the title. And they reunite there. They use the magic lance that Taylor gives them to defeat Kane, and when it looks like the little one is lost to the light, Grandma saves her. So, without any official date confirmation, we'll roll with it being 1982. The next entry came much quicker, only 2 years, and 1988 saw Poltergeist III. Carol Ann is back, and she's living in a high-rise now with Lewis and Dallas, her aunt and uncle, and she's been there for a month. Their daughter is Donna Hayward, and coincidentally, her character is named Donna here as well. Spooky stuff starts happening all around the building, and the reason CA is in Chicago is to attend a special school. And this is pretty terrible, since when Heather O'Rourke, the actress that plays her, she looks like she's ballooned up for a little girl. And this is because when they were making this movie, she was really sick and was prescribed the wrong medication, which caused her body to swell up. And she died not long after making this film. The head of her school thinks that she's capable of inducing mass hypnosis, and Kane's back. But speaking of deaths, Julian Beck, who played him in part 2, also died shortly after making that film, requiring this recast. Tangina's back as well, with her and Carol Ann being the only two recurring characters, and there's a number of mirror-related things happening. And, I'm not sure why an 11 or 12-year-old girl is using a speak and spell. And do you think they're going to say it? Of course they're going to say it.
We're back!
And then there's some mirror stuff, and then some more mirror stuff. And Donna and her friends sneak in to party, and Kane makes his move. He takes Donna and Carol Ann to the other side, and they say that he's now after Bruce and Patricia, since he'll be after anyone that loves her. But I don't know, what about her parents? Kane disguises himself as the little girl and kills Tangina, which returns Donna to them. And Dr. Seaton is pushed down an elevator shaft. And hey, the two previous movies had a body count of 0, and we're now at 2 here. They face off in the parking lot. Everything seems to be okay, but it's clear that the evil is still there. And they go to have a final showdown where Pat has to prove that she loves Carol Ann because he can't take her if someone on the other side still loves her. And again, what about Mom and Dad? Tangina's ghost intervenes and leads Kane into the light, and Pat's super upset even though she met the lady a day ago. The family is returned, but it's suggested that it's still not over. And hey, I'm assuming that Scott died. They revealed that the part that came back was just a mirror spawn, and then he vanished, and he's not here at the ending. So I assume he died too. So the body count is actually 3. Now, there's no actual date shown here, so I'm going to go ahead and assume it's in real time based on Carol Ann's age, and put this as 6 years later, 1988. So there was a detour here in 1996, since the franchise decided to head to the small screen, sort of, with Poltergeist: The Legacy. It was about a secret society called The Legacy that were basically ghost fighters. It ran for 3 seasons on Showtime and then 1 more on Sci-Fi for a total of 88 episodes, but didn't actually have any connections to the films. Much like the Friday the 13th series, it's simply utilizing the same title to create a new concept, although it's certainly possible to have it take place in the same universe. Much later in 2015, it was remake time. So we got it with Poltergeist. And we meet the new Freelings right away, but they're the Bowens now. And dad is Justin Hammer. Mom is Rachel getting married. And the house is now in Canada. Little Madison starts talking to invisible people, and they start noticing some static electricity weirdness. And from this computer, we can see that it's Tuesday the 3rd, but no date as of yet. And of course, there's a tree and a clown. And we see that Eric was the MVP from 1996 and 7 of his baseball team, I guess in high school. And shortly after, Griffin sees Madison talking to TV Ghost, and she says it.
They're here.
Side note, the 3 kids are Madison, Griffin, and Kendra. It was like they just Googled basic white kid names and wrote down the first 3 that they saw. Weird stuff keeps happening, and we see an Illinois plate with a green sticker, which was the color for either 2011 or 2017. We're told that the housing plan is built on an old cemetery back in the 90s, and the clown attacks, as does the tree, and Maddie gets lured in by sparkly lights, trapping her in the TV. They call in the paranormal group, and a lot of what happens next is very close to the original, but instead of calling in Tangina, they bring in Moriarty. Well, this guy is more of a TV reality show ghost hunter. Again, basically the same stuff, except instead of baseballs, they first send in a drone, because this was 2015. Drones were everywhere you turned. It goes over to the other side, and Griffin is the one to go through and get Maddie, and they decide to get out of Dodge. We see the license plate again, and it seems to say 13? Kerrigan mentions a scar on his face from 2012, so we're past that. And
Bert, give her the line!
The house is clean.
Better, come on!
The house is clean.
I mean, close enough. But then there's an inspection sticker on the front of the car that expires in December of 15, so that's pretty clear. This is 2015. The ghosts pull them back in, with Kerrigan going to the other side to lead the spirits through the light. And then, yep, we get a good look at that license plate sticker, and it expires on May of 2015. And there were 2 months with a Tuesday the 3rd there. So this is either February or March of 2015. We see a big light, and I guess the ghosts are going into it, led by Kerrigan and Hooper High Basketball? Get it? And they run away from moving into a new house because they know that moving is the greatest terror. And a mid-credit scene reveals that Kerrigan indeed survived and is back to his show. So there you have it, 4 movies, 3 from the original run and 1 remake. And yeah, continuity is not really that important to this. It does actually have continuity, with the exception of basically having a character just vanish and is never mentioned again. And then in part 3, their mom and dad basically vanish and are not mentioned again. I guess, I don't know if you want to call that continuity, because they don't really address it, but it is weird. But yeah, I mean, these movies are pretty great. They're a lot of fun. It gets not as good as goes on. The first movie is fantastic. Second movie is still pretty damn cool. Third movie's fine, and the remake is so incredibly forgettable that I forgot that I even watched it until I started recording this. But yeah, let me know what you think of these down below in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Poltergeist series. Tell me that. If you enjoyed this video, of course, hit that like button. If you're enjoying what you see on the channel, maybe think about subscribing and hitting that bell so when you get notified of new videos that go up. And of course, check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimeline so you can help support this channel like these guys do. And they're awesome for doing it, and you can be too. But also just keep on coming back and watching more videos. And I'll see you very shortly for another great one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.